and grow. Now, I called this webinar, Help My Marketing Plan is Sick, because most people come to me and they say, I need marketing. I need marketing. Well, what does that mean? So I just want you to know, no matter what business I launch for myself, no matter what business I go into for my clients, I always start with this program. This is what I do personally to analyze any business and see where they're at. So I just want you to understand that it's more than marketing. It's the whole foundation for what your business is built on. So what is marketing? Marketing, by definition, is the process by which whatever you're selling, a product or service, and whoever you're selling it to, you connect the two. How do they know you exist? So most of you think of marketing as advertising, putting ads on TV, social media, brochures, flyers, handing them out, public speaking. You're always thinking about saying something about your business. That's what most people think marketing is. So what's selling? Selling is the process by which you are ready to exchange money. So the client already, or the customer already knows you exist, and now they're considering making a purchase from you. I'm not talking about selling here today. I'm talking strictly about how they're going to connect with you. Now, some people sell and market at the same time, especially online. You'll see their website, and then I have landing pages too, and then boom, a call to action, sell. I'm marketing. You may have never heard of me, and then all of a sudden I'm selling you something. Or you could sell in person, or you could sell over the telephone. But I want you to think of these activities as two very distinct steps in running your business. So a marketing plan, this whole foundation, is to just determine who you're going to sell to, why they're buying it from you, and how are you going to connect? How are they going to learn you exist? Now, one of the ways that you can think about it is to take a look at your competition and see what they do. And then you can determine from that how you could do something a little differently. One of the things, this just happened at one of my clients. He hired a social media expert. And supposedly, I say supposedly, this expert was creating the content for his social media posts. And these were not ads. These were just post newsletters going out. And this person started using my client's competitors' words. And I caught it because I'm on their list, and I read this and I thought, why are they using these words? And I called up my client and said, why are you using these words? And he said, well, I thought the same thing, but the social media expert wants my customers to know that I'm doing it better. So he's bashing my competitor. I don't recommend that at all. I don't recommend bashing your competitors. I don't recommend, putting them down or saying anything to separate yourself from them, because people are coming from a different mindset then. Your customers, your clients are coming from a different mindset. Never do that. I'm always checking my competition, but I'm always looking for ways, what are they missing on their advertising and marketing, that if we're going after the same people, what are my clients, what are my customers, what do they need to know? And just do something differently. So how do you stand out with all of these competitors you have? And there's more and more every day because we're online. And I want to thank one of my other clients for coming up with the acronym Be a Gem, because he said it's like trying to find this one little gem in a pile of diamonds. How do you go through all this? And how do you stand out when you're so small? You don't have enough money. You can't do television advertising. I've been there, guys. I've been in your shoes. I know exactly what this is like. And I had to find a way to do this without spending any money. So, and my big client today, he doesn't spend any money on advertising at all, except for buying a few flyers, which I cannot convince him just to put QR codes out everywhere. But Be a Gem is the acronym that you're going to follow. So if you're writing anything down, we're going to use each letter for another step in the marketing process. And if you are in the car listening, you can't write this down, don't worry. Crystal is really good at sending out the recording, and she's got copies of all the slides. So I shrunk the PDF file, made it small so she can email it to you, and then you can just follow along and listen to it again. So when I first started out, I'm a 40+ year entrepreneur. I've launched 4 successful businesses, and I've been the management consultant to 20% of the Fortune 1000. So all of these companies, no matter what size they are, from Fortune 1, Walmart, Amoco, all these big guys, to you're just starting out yourself out of your bedroom. How do you differentiate yourself? The first thing you have to determine is who your buyer is. And I've got some current clients that are just joining me, and I put them through some exercises, and I asked them to do some research, and they came back with everybody in the United States between the ages of 18 and 55. Well, that's like, 200 million people. There's no way you're going to have 200 million people as clients. If you did, you wouldn't be here. You'd be on the beach somewhere. You got enough money to just go ahead and advertise and target these people and compete with everybody else on television and social media. So we're going to talk about buyers, and I'm going to talk about how you start small and you expand. Then we're going to talk about emotion. Emotion is the one thing I can tell you no marketing firm talks about. If you're hiring a marketing firm, I apologize to any people who run marketing agencies that are on the call, but that's the one piece that's always missing. If you take a look at the big guys who are making a lot of money, they sell an emotion, and I'm going to talk to you about how to differentiate what emotion to use. Once you have those two things, then you can talk about advertising. Then you can create ads, posts on social media, even if it's organic, LinkedIn, TikTok, whatever, 60-second videos, whatever you're creating. I have a YouTube channel called 7 Minutes to Business Success, 7-minute videos on a variety of topics. Each one has an emotion that's in the ad, in my words that I'm choosing to use. And then we're going to talk about graphics. So most people who come to me start the graphics first. They do it backwards. They start their graphics first. This is pretty. Look at this pretty gem. And then they advertise it, and they think they're selling it to whoever's looking online, but they forgot about the emotion. And then the last thing I'm going to provide you with is how do you build an elevator message? And if you don't know what that is, I'll explain that to you as we go along. So let's start with buyers. There's 2 types. There's consumers, where you sell a product or service directly to a consumer, or you're selling to another business. Doesn't matter. The process is the exact same, because we're always selling to people. You're not selling to machines. Even though they're invisible to you when you're selling online, it's a person who's always buying on the other end. So if you're selling to, you actually are selling to both, because if you're selling to businesses, you have to think about the end consumer who's using that product or service too. So you're always focused on the last person that's buying. Similar to if you ever heard of commercials for Intel Inside. Intel sells chips. I don't buy an Intel chip at the store. I buy it through a computer. And I don't buy it directly from Intel. I buy it from a retailer. So they know they're selling to consumers. So you always have to think about the final person using the product or service. So how are you going to describe this person? Well, it's not only describing them, but thinking about the layers between you and this person. So do you sell a product or service through a retailer? I noticed there was a doctor I saw a name in one of the participants. I don't know if it's medical or what kind, but even doctors now are selling through insurance companies. They're selling through organizations that they belong to. Sometimes they work directly with the consumer, but that's not how they connect with them in marketing. If you're selling a product or a service, had a client selling tile to pool distributors or contractors building kitchens and bathrooms, they were selling their products through distributors. But yet it was people like you and me who wanted the finished product in our bathroom, our kitchen, or our swimming pool, or wherever we were. So they had to think about the end person using their product. Same thing if you're selling through contractors or direct. there's all these layers, but doesn't matter what the layers are. Always think about the final person using your product. So who is that person and how many different ways can you connect with them? Like DuPont carpeting, if you ever heard of DuPont carpeting, DuPont does not sell directly to the consumer. They only sell through distributors and retailers, but they had massive advertising campaigns on TV to show that if you spilled something on their carpet, you could wipe it right up. Now, why did they do that? Because they know consumers were going to their distributors and retailers, and how was their carpet? Carpet is carpet. How are you going to differentiate it from everybody else? So it's how do you describe that person, but also how do you connect with them? So you could get them also by referrals. Some people may get referrals. I get a lot of referrals. You can get them direct, or you can get them through word of mouth. You can get them by walking by your front door, in case you're in a business where you are restricted by a geographic area, like an ice cream shop or something like that. So so you've got these layers. How do you connect with them? Some of you are going to connect directly with the person, but you have these layers. And I'm going to pick on Holly. I think Holly is the photographer. I use her a lot in my examples. I think she's on this call. I saw her name. She could sell direct to consumers, or she could sell to organizations where they have members where they need photography. She's a photographer. So she has both sets of layers that she needs to sell to, and she needs to think about that when she's doing her advertising and her marketing. So there's the cross section of different categories you have to think about. And I'm going to go through each one of these. As I said, don't worry about taking notes because you'll get the slides. You can target them by geography, their specific demographics, their lifestyle, or their behavior. So what's geography? That's pretty simple. Where are they located? If it's the entire country, I'm going to tell you it's very, very difficult to market to the entire country when you're first starting, especially those trying to sell everything online. Even if you're online, I suggest you focus local and then go global. I think they call it global. You have to start somewhere and then expand. Now, unless you're in a brick and mortar and you have a physical address, well, people aren't going to come from so far. Well, it could be a doctor who has a specialty and people are coming in from around the world. It still can happen, but you have to think about how then you're going to market and connect with these people. Are you doing it at the state level, at the country level? It can get very complicated. And the larger you make your area, just remember, the more it's going to cost in marketing, because it has a smaller impact than if you were buying social media ads. I know we're covering Arizona here and Utah. If you were buying social media ads for, just Salt Lake City, you're going to have a bigger impact than if you buy social media ads for the entire state. You're going to get more for your money, but you also have to remember the emotion, and you also have to remember to be able to describe this person. Now, demographics is another cross-section you need to consider. Well, what is that? It could be income, race, culture, gender, age, religion. I belong to a group called C-Suite for Christ, and that's in Arizona. It's a Christian-based organization. It could be based on occupation. Maybe you could focus your work just on attorneys or something else. Education, generation. Maybe it's the Gen X or the baby boomers, or it could be a blend of these. So, for example, I started Center for Women Business Owners in 2008, and I moved it online. It's just an online group now, which all of you are welcome to join. There's men in the group too on LinkedIn. But what is it? Well, it's a cross section. It's the occupation. It's a small business owner. It's gender. It's called Center for Women Business Owners. So it's also specific more towards how women should grow their businesses. And it could have some education in there too, but not as much. So it's a cross section between business owners and female. I mean, you can really take some time to think about this. Now, if you are already in business and have customers, I suggest you go back get a notebook and start thinking about each customer you've had and describe them. Find out where these people are, see if they fit into any of these categories, and location, because now perhaps you've already started to outline who your perfect buyer is. If you're starting out for the first time, you're going to have to think about this, and you're going to have to guess for a little bit to test it to see what will work. What's lifestyle? Well, it could be, are they world travelers? Are they very frugal? I call them the coupon cutters. I have a friend, she doesn't shop anywhere unless she has a coupon. So she's a frugal coupon cutter. So I know ads that have coupons, she's going to look at. You know, is that what you're going to focus on? Where do they spend their time? Hobbies? Are they readers? Do they have a specific career that they're aspiring to achieve? Is it a physical attribute? Like you sell golf clubs for 6-foot-tall women who only play with their left hand. I mean, that's a very physical attribute. When I had Archifications, we went after people who love to spend their time traveling. They're world travelers. So how did I identify them? I picked 5 states to get started. I described them as people who were timeshare owners. Timeshare owners love to travel. And they also, timeshare owners who also have been on a cruise. And from that, and then I took, most of them were ready to retire. So they were over the age of 50. They had a lot of vacation time or close to it. So wealth-wise, they fit in that category where they had expendable income. And I targeted 5 states. I bought lists of those people who fit those 3 categories, and the business just took off. We were doing $4 or $5 million by year 4.5. So because we targeted, we didn't do the entire world. We just didn't put it out online. Yeah, it was online, but we went back and targeted those people by direct marketing. Behavior is another category. How do they behave? Is it an attitude? Do they, are they loyal? Perhaps they love these cards where, you know, buy one, get one free. You buy 10, you get one free. It's loyalty, it's usage rate. You buy more, they get a discount. Is it a special occasion? Weddings, graduations, hobbies, events. Again, it could be a blend of these. So there's no perfect way to do this. Major corporations that I consult with hire high-end ad agencies to go across the country and do blind market research studies to determine the combination of things they need. You can't afford that. So that's why I suggest you have to test it. Just really have to test to see what's going on. Now, SCORE, you're here because of SCORE. SCORE has mentors all over the country. I mean, Christine is a SCORE mentor. Crystal here is on the call. She can help you. Contact your SCORE office. Now that you know what you need, ask them to help you determine what does this picture look like. They have access to a lot of information. And if not, do that in conjunction, go to your local library. I love the library because you go to a reference librarian and say, can you tell me how many people in this state are this age at this income level? And they'll be able to find it for you. And then you could start putting things together. And this doesn't cost you anything to do this, to start asking these questions.
Darlene, we have a question.
Yeah.
Jeanette wants to know where you can buy those types of lists.
Yeah, they're available, but I have to warn you, I need to take a drink. If you contact me later, I'll give you the name of one that I think is very reputable. When I started the travel agency, I went to the library first, got as much information as I could, and then I started subscribing to all of these organizations that claim they sold these lists. Now, there's a lot of people who sell these lists. They can give you all this information, and they can even manage the list for you by doing direct email marketing without violating any of the ICANN laws. If you're buying the list for telemarketing, I warn you to make sure you know the telemarketing laws in each state has their own telemarketing laws on top of the federal ones and in different countries. So you have to be aware of that. But I want to warn you that the first few list companies that I bought from, the stuff was junk, absolutely junk. They were made up names. They really didn't exist. So I always purchased the smallest test list I could get, and then I tested it first. And then if the information was reputable, I continued to work with them. And I do know of a company out of Omaha, Nebraska. To give you an idea, what does it cost? I'm working with another client. We're looking at buying 5,000 names in a certain industry, and I think they went $500 for it. It's not much at all. So there are places where you can get this. So if you want to send me an email later, I'll give you my email at the end. I'll connect you with somebody. But they're out there. But I just warn you, if it's somebody you're not familiar with or didn't get a referral on, just do a small test study first. Anything else, Christine?
That is all I see for right now.
Okay, anybody else have any other little question they want to ask? Okay. All right, let me go on now. Now we're going to talk about emotion, and this is a big one. If you don't have emotion buried in your marketing and advertising, you're not going to survive for very long. I can tell you that. You will have just given yourself a very nice job for a period of time. Oh, I just wanted to mention in the library, go to the reference department of the library. And if you're not near one that has a good business reference department, call them. I've called, I was in Illinois, I was calling libraries in Wisconsin. Tell the reference librarian what you're looking for in your business, and then ask them what data is available. I'm gonna give you an example. When I started at Taurus Consulting Group, I started with 150 names, and I went to the library, and I was only in Chicago. I picked the Chicago metropolitan area for my buyers, and I was selling to chief information officers of Fortune 1000. I didn't know who they were. I didn't know how to find them without looking each one up. You went to the library. They actually found me a book of 150 names with addresses, phone numbers, everything I needed. And that was my target list when I started. It was me and one other person in the company. And I'll show you my marketing and advertising later, but then I wrote them each a direct letter in the mail. And then I started by calling up, and I grew that to $10 million in a few years. So just taking a small list. So just ask, you can find what you need.
Can you take another question?
Sure.
In the slides somewhere, are you going to provide the URL for the Center for Women's Business Owners?
I can tell you now, you can go to LinkedIn, and it's a group called Center for Women Business Owners. I'm the admin. It's got about 700 members now. Just go to that page and ask to become a member, and then I'll just put you in the group. And I want people to know you can advertise your product in that group. Some of these groups, they don't want you to, they only want you to ask questions. I believe in advertising your product so people can help test it for you, because you can't afford, the big guys doing the $5 million test studies across the country. So I use it as part of market research and testing. So just go to LinkedIn and you'll find that. Any other questions?
I wanted to ask Jeanette if she got her question answered appropriately. I think you may have. What questions do you ask at the library? She did. Great.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Okay, we'll go on. We'll stop again for questions.
Okay.
Don't worry. Christine knows I stop quite often. Okay, so there's 3 emotions you can sell. And I want you to test this when you shop. I want you to test this when you watch television ads. I only watch them because I'm always doing market research. My girlfriends drag me shopping. I hate shopping, but I'm in and out. I know my list because I'm in there critiquing everything. What's the emotion? Why are people buying this? What's going on? There are only 3 emotions. You go to, and you all do this. You probably don't realize you do this. Marketing over the years, since television inception in the 40s, had these psychologists study this stuff. And they know our brains are wired and triggered to do these things. And so the major corporations follow this exactly. Small business owners try and do all three because they're afraid they're going to lose a customer. You cannot do that. Customers will be confused. They don't know why they buy from you. They don't know why they should refer you to somebody else. You have to stay focused on this. So it's by price, it's by service, or it's something that's one of a kind. And there are ways you can do this as a small business. The rule of thumb now, and I'll explain later, is you can only focus your marketing on one of these, not all three. Okay, so we're going to go through each one. Walmart is the behemoth on price. Nobody beats their prices. They even advertise that. Christmas time, they'll show real people with real receipts showing how much more money they save for the exact same product at their store. Now, small business owners typically cannot afford to do this. Why? Very slim margins. You got to have a lot of capital sometimes to get this going. And how can you run a business with employees, staff, this, that, whatever else you need based on price? Now, their margins are like 3%. They're efficient. And what else do you have to determine if it's price? They use the right words in all their marketing. Best price, lowest price, discounted price, competitive, cut rate. So if you're in price, if that's what you want to do, you have to make sure your marketing tells the person reading the ads or hearing about your story that it's price, because our brains are absolutely wired for that. There's a lot of good marketing psychologists that talk about this. I'll give you the name of one. Remind me, Christine, at the end of the program. And then these are the questions you can ask yourself going through this process to determine if the emotion you're selling is price. I don't care if you're selling widgets. I don't care if you're an attorney, a doctor. I don't care if you're a teacher. I don't care if you're an advisor. I don't care if you're selling, sweaters. Ask these questions. Can you guarantee the lowest price for your product or service? And is it the best price compared to all your your competitors? This goes back, check your competition. And can you manage your business and make money selling it at their price? Because so many people who started out on price failed and ended up in bankruptcy because they couldn't sustain it for very long because there wasn't enough money to reinvest the capital in the business to help it grow. It's very difficult to do this on price. And I advise almost all my clients never to market on sale, price, this and that, if they're doing customer service or if they're doing something that's so unique, because now the reader is confused. You can say, I'm gonna offer a special program at the end. Maybe I'll include an extra hour or something, but if you just do it on price saying that I'm selling the best price, you're really going to have a difficult time as a small business owner. Any questions on this or anything else that we've talked about so far?
Denise is having issues with signing up on LinkedIn to your group.
Oh, do you have a LinkedIn account? Let me.
It says that she can only follow. But she says,
you know what? You have to go to groups. There's 2 pages. You have to go to groups and look for the Center for Women Business Owner group. Before I finish, after I finish the slides, I'll show you guys how to do that. It's a group. There's a page and then there's a group. The page promotes the group, but you have to go to the group. So look in groups, Center for Women Business Owners. Anything else? I'm going to go on.
Not at the moment.
Thank you, Christine. So the next is service. All right. Service encompasses a lot of different things. And I'm going to show you the questions that you need to ask yourself to determine if your differentiator is service. But the big service guru right now is Amazon, right? Same day service, next day service, sometimes in 3 hours. I live outside of Arizona and I'm amazed. I used to build and consult doing major warehouse distribution systems for the Department of Defense. And theirs is bigger than Amazon's warehouses, but I'm still amazed at how quickly they can get something to the door. That's convenience. Gas stations are convenience. When you go and pick up a product, a gallon of milk at a gas station, you pay more. You don't think about price. You're in a hurry, but you don't have to go to Walmart, get out of the car, drive all the way to the back of the store, walk all the way to the back of the store to get your milk. And that on your way out, you're picking up 16 different items. So that's why Walmart's not service. Walmart is price. So service, service, service. I mean, they even text me a picture when the box is at the door. Now they're talking about drones and putting a pad in your yard, and the drone can drop the product right in your yard if you have a private yard. So it's very interesting. Mm-hmm. So some of the words they use, that if you're using service, and I've done service, the travel agency was service, guarantees, largest selection, convenience, easy. I had a payment plan. So I made it easy for people to buy travel packages from me. I had a payment plan. That's convenience. Guarantees. Maybe you have a guarantee for a year instead of 30 days. Easy cancel terms. There's a lot of things that can be denoted as service. So these are the questions you need to ask yourself. Are you offering something that's really convenient? A better money back guarantee? Are you more responsive to your customers? Faster selection, widest selection, it comes in every color. What makes it convenient for the customer? That's what convenience is all about. Small business owners can do convenience. Like I said, I've done it. The travel agency, it was convenient because I bundled the products. I sold them in advance so they can make payments. And I didn't do any of the air until the last minute because you can't change an airline ticket, but I could change cruises and I could change hotels. So the secret virus came out. We had several people who bought packages where their intention was to go to the Caribbean islands. Sika came out, they called us up. I said, well, my staff goes, we can send you on an Alaska trip. There's no secret virus in Alaska at this time. And we can move your funds over there. It's a little bit more money. Alaska's more money. It's only 2 ships that go into Glacier Bay every day, where there's hundreds in the Caribbean every day. Are you willing to pay more? You're not going to lose anything. We'll move you there. That was convenience. Mm-hmm. So people loved us for convenience on that. Mm-hmm. Any questions on what might or might not be considered convenience or anything else that you have? If not, I'm going to go on. Because the last one is where most of you will probably fit, and that's being unique. And you're going to wonder, okay, how are you going to do that? Well, Tiffany does it. They sell jewelry. There's a million jewelry stores all over the place. They do it by saying they created the Tiffany diamond. It's a different setting. They were the only ones who had it at the time. Now everybody can say they have it, but they were the first ones. And they branded themselves with a blue box, which they actually have this color and white ribbon combination. They have that trademarked. If anybody else copies that, it's a violation of their trademark. They absolutely promoted it as they're unique. So what words do they use? Unique, rare, exclusive, one of a kind, only one in town, no one else is doing this. These are the questions you need to answer. Do I sell something no one else has? Can my product claim some type of prestigious differentiation? Like, do you have a famous person endorsing you? Is your product scarce? In most cases, what you're selling is not going to be scarce. Is it advanced in technology? Well, some people I've met have come up with some unique ways to do things where they could claim technology. Do you have unique references? Maybe you're a photographer who took pictures of some famous rock stars. That's a unique reference. And how do you compare yourself as the best, most unique person compared to your competition? So it depends on how you answer these questions. You can only do one of these three. Only one. That's a huge golden rule. Most people who come to me to join my consulting programs for help, my advice programs, I see they're trying to do all three. There was one young woman who had a great, unique service. She was bringing in from another country. But yeah, when I went to her LinkedIn website, she had price all in the banner. We're only charging blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you missed the point here. You want people to come to you because you're the only one bringing this in from this country, but yet you're talking about price. Well, I want to catch everybody. Well, it's not going to happen. You're not going to get everybody. Just accept that now. That is the worst way to market. That's the worst way to try and sell, to get everything to fit with everybody. I had a client that's a major employer. I can't talk about my NDAs, the non-disclosures I signed, but this was a privately held company. It was the largest employer in this state. They hired me to find out why their expenses were so high in technology. It turned out their number one salesperson, who they were adoring and giving all kinds of awards to, was creating havoc with every sale they made because the technology department had a revamp for every customer. Each customer that this particular salesperson sold cost them so much money, it wasn't worth it. I said, if you get rid of him and his client base, you're going to have way more money on the bottom line, way more. But he's chasing every sale instead of coming up with this golden rule. It was eye-opening for them because they had never heard of this. They said, well, we can't let him go. He's there. Well, he's also your number one cost. So how do you justify this? So you can't be all three. You just cannot. You just have to accept that fact. And you're going to have a little bit of trust here that you're going to start out small and you're going to say, well, this isn't getting me anywhere, but boom, it'll just work if you get the right combination of buyers and emotion, and then figure out where they are. So again, it's only one. And then take a look at what your competition uses. If your competition is trying to do all three, they're not going to be around long either. A lot of people just start a business to give themselves a very nice job. I don't call that really a business. A lot of people come to me and I say, you got yourself a very nice job, but here's what you're going to have to do to grow, if that's what you want. So it entirely depends on what your goal is. Now, for me, okay, I'm a business consultant. If you went on LinkedIn, whoever went on LinkedIn, if you just type in the words business consultant, business advisor, business coach, there's over 3 million people who come up. I have a lot of competitors. That's around the world. So what do they say? I check a few of them out. They say they increase ROIs. They say it's fast and easy, quick. It's real simple. Get there to 7 figures. I look at their LinkedIn profile. Many of them have never done it for themselves. They're great at putting up a lot of what I call smoke and mirrors. So I have a lot of, how do I compete with that? So I decided I had to be unique and I had to be the best business coach and consultant out there. So I went back and I looked at all my testimonials, the ones that were in writing and the ones I was told verbally. And I even went back and talked to some people. Why did you come to me? What did you think about me? Blah, blah, blah. 90% of them say, I wish I came to you sooner. I wish I came to you first. The one I have, some of the ones I'm working on now, they're finally realizing how much money they wasted before they had a plan. And their whole plan is based on nothing different than what I'm building for you here now. Focus on one emotion, start with a small group, figure out that geography, get it perfect. So I do the same thing. I'm the number one business advisors. Entrepreneurs say they wish they met me sooner. They wish they met me first. I hear this over and over and over again. So there's ways, if you're in the service industry, there's ways for you to make yourself unique. Any questions? These two parts of this presentation are absolutely key. Absolutely key. Anything else, Christine?
Not right at the moment.
All right, we're going to go on. So If you're just starting out, it's a WAG, wild, you know what, guess. You're selecting your buyers, you're selecting your motion. When I started at Torres Consulting Group, I started out with being unique because I said we were the only ones. I picked those 150 names and I told them we're the only management consulting group who did an information technology strategy that was totally objective for them, because we were not accepting any rebate money from any of the software and hardware companies we recommended. All my competition did. And I said, we don't. And I tested it. Well, 3 years into it, we started getting a little stagnant. We were growing, but we got those 150 people and moving on, but we were a little stagnant. So I hired a marketing research firm to go and talk to my clients and say, why are you buying from Darlene's company? Why are you buying from them? And ask them those same questions I gave you on price, service, and uniqueness. And they all came back with that we provided them the best service. Now, I didn't think we were doing service. I thought we were unique. But then I changed all my marketing stuff, which was easy to do. You know, some new brochures, some new flyers in the website, and changed the words to service. And it took off again. So it's a test. It really is a test that you have to do. You may get so far if you've been in business for a while. My client in Ohio was in business 25 years, kind of stuck. We did this, and he didn't believe he was unique, did not believe he was. And when I showed him where I thought he was unique, because he was the fastest growing entertainer in that space, and then I told him to pick one city. So he said the fastest growing entertainment company in Akron. Then he expanded to Cleveland. Then he expanded to Toledo. So now he says in Ohio. And this morning, he called me last night, again, invited to interview live on local television. This is the second time in 3 months to promote his company. He never pays for advertising. He just got the message out that he was the fastest growing, and that made him unique. There's a way, if I work with you, there's a way I can find the message for each of you. Okay, so now you have those two. Now you can start advertising who the buyers are that you're trying to reach and what the emotion is that you're trying to get them to what I call hook onto or know why they're coming to buy from you. So this is where you test. Are the two connected? And you don't have to spend much money in this. And when I'm talking about advertising, like Mark's company, the only thing he buys are some flyers that he put out in restaurants. He hasn't paid for any ads on social media. He's just done it by organic posting and newsletters. So again, how are they going to find you? How are they going to connect with you? And that's going to be one of these three. That's the major connection that they're going to connect with, and your product or service. That's kind of like secondary. This is really first. So now you've got this cross section, like I said, the smaller the cross section, the smaller the geography, the more return on your investment you will get, because it's going to depend on how much money you have to invest in advertising and where they're located. I mean, this really all depends on what you have. That's why I say smaller is better. For a small business owner, smaller is better. Don't think big, know the number you want, but start small, stay focused. So it's what type of media you will use. Again, it's going to depend on where they're located. Do these people read social media? How much is in your budget? And you've got to remember to express that emotion in every ad, every post, every flyer, anything that you're generating. You've got to remember that message. So there's a huge list of ways you can advertise. You can do online ads. You could pay for that. You could do it organically, which is what I recommend most of my clients do. You could pay for some local television and radio. There's some small ads that you can afford. You can go to trade shows, depending upon if you're selling to other businesses or even consumers. If you're selling jewelry, there's jewelry shows. Speaking engagements, I do a lot of that. I'm doing that for SCORE. I do that for other organizations. Direct mail is becoming a lost art. If you can get to, if you're in a small geographic area, you might be able to do some direct mail, print media, leaving flyers, brochures, depending upon where you're at, networking groups. But if you're going to pick a networking group, pick one that's connected to the buyers that you are trying to connect with. Where are they? And then emotion you're selling. Because a lot of people go to networking groups hoping they'll meet somebody to buy their product or service. Email list, I talked about that. Telemarketing list. Again, you got to know all the laws for those two. Make sure you know the laws in that. Drive-by, you could have a location where people are driving by, foot traffic, word of mouth, paid referrals. You could pay people to give you referrals, and strategic alliances. This is where you partner with your competitors. This is where you partner with other firms that are selling similar products and services to you, to the same group of people, and you both can benefit. I've done that very well in the consulting business.
We have
Any questions?
Perfect. Chelsea would like to know your recommendations for doing market research without hiring a firm.
Well, that's a tough one. That's why, but I do recommend that you research with people who don't know you. Because I had one client, she was asking all her friends, she had a product manufactured in China. She spent all this money. She even had a patent, a design patent on this thing. And I just kept saying, who's buying this? Who's the perfect buyer? Who's the perfect buyer? And she said, well, I tested it here and they like it. And I tested it there and they like it. Well, she tested it with people who knew her. So then she hired a firm to do a blind marketing study, but she only did one. Well, they got feedback based on that geographic area and the 10 people in the room. So if it depends on the product or service that you're selling, I would start online in groups like Center for Women Business Owner, go out to other groups that will allow you to post your product or service, tell them to go to your website and ask them what they think. You just really have to ask people what they think. And I've done that a lot. But it's like 6 degrees of separation. How many people don't you know? But that do know you, have heard of you. I started testing my things here with SCORE, because I don't know who any of you are. And it's the feedback I get that helps me keep building. So because my client base are small business owners now, it's not the Fortune 1000 anymore. I'm done with that career. I moved on. And it's a headache. You're on the road all the time. And I wanted to stay local and I wanted to stay smaller and I wanted to have a way of life. So once it got big, it was big and I was gone, 7 days a week. So I had to figure out, how am I going to connect? I started calling people. I went to associations of small business owners and people I didn't know. And it was the same thing for me, because I couldn't afford to hire a $5 million project to see how this was going to work. I wasn't going to invest the money in that until I knew that I had something to offer people. And it was through that process that I discovered all the statistics on small business owners, and only 15% make it beyond year 5. And I beat those odds 4 times. And I thought, well, I must have done something right here. And then they talked about how less than 9% are ever get to 7 figures of the 31 million in this country. Well, I did that several times. I was in the 8 figures. And women business owners, it's even worse. Only 4% make it. So once I started doing all this research, then I knew where I fit. Then I had to test it. And I tested it through public speaking. I tested it by writing a book. I tested it by giving the book away. There's a lot of ways that it depends on the product or service that you're selling. I'd really have to talk to you about that. And I have an offer at the end of the program where you guys can email me and I'll talk to you for free for an hour. I'll just try and help you put this together. But you have to think outside the box and you have to test it to the buyers you think you want to sell it to, but people who don't know you. Because I'm telling you, if I ask my family or friend, they'll say it's a great idea.
Yeah.
And then you can run with it and then it may not work.
Another question we have is that you mentioned 3 keys to selling. One was start with a small group, but what were the other 2?
Start with the
Hmm.
small group and make sure you have a small geography area if you can. And then the smallest, the most definitive group of buyers, and as far as their demographics and all that. If you can get that as small as possible, those 3 areas, you'll have much more success. At least so that you'll be able to test it sooner to see if it works or not. Because if you have this large group, you'll get some customers, but it's not giving you a very good definitive test. That's not how market research works. You know, they take small groups, test it here, that didn't work, nobody bought anything, they go on to the next one, go on to the next one, and then they figure that out, if that makes sense. Did I answer the question?
I believe you did.
Okay.
We'll ask Hayward. He said yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Hayward. Okay, be a gem. All right, let's go on to graphics now. This is the fun part. This is funny because most people who come to me start with the graphics first. They do it backwards. They got pretty pictures and pretty names. They got a company name. They got logos. They got all this stuff. They do it backwards. Then they start posting stuff online, social media. I've done this too, so that's why I'm laughing, because I know, and they don't think about the emotion at all. They try and hit everybody with everything, price, convenience, and then they try and target everybody in the world. So graphics should come with advertising. These 2 are going to come together, but totally after you pick out some buyers and emotion in the smallest group you can. Again, what does the graphic portray? It's got to hit that message. And I'm going to take it a little deeper for you too today. Supercuts, their convenience. When you look at their website, even the name, super fast, super this, super that, that's convenience. Well, what if it's a high-end salon? Well, put your name on it. I'm the only one named Christoph who has a salon. That makes me unique. Putting your name on your business makes you unique. I have my DBA is Darlene Zebel. Everything I publish is under my name. That makes me unique. Or it can be price. The $6.99 haircut. Again, the graphics should tell you where they fit. Right? Even the name. So here's my company name, Actoris, from my management consulting firm. Now, at the time I started this business, it was just me and a partner. I already knew all this stuff because I had worked hard to get to this 3rd company. I sold the other 2. And I didn't even have a company name. I already had the 150 names from the library I wanted to target. And I knew the message to differentiate me was being unique. I'm the only one that was promoting information technology architecture without getting a rebate. So I called a friend of mine who was a big Latin buff. We were struggling with the name. And she asked me what we were selling, what we were doing. And I told her we're consultants. So she came up with the word from Latin called auctoritas. And I said, oh man, that's too long. Nobody's going to remember that. Nobody's going to know how to spell it. So I took a bunch of letters out and I said, it's going to be called Actoris. And the funny part is my partner, who didn't know, I finally told the lawyers to set up the incorporation papers, all this, because we had to start branding and marketing. He looked at it and said, does that say Actoris? And I said, no, it's Actoris. It's pronounced Actoris. And so this is where we spent the money. Then we hired a marketing graphics person after we had this all figured out, gave him the name, told him our differentiator, told him we wanted to be unique, told him we wanted to stand out from everybody else based on these things. And he came up, and I wanted the letter A, if possible, to be up higher in the trade shows on the exhibitor list, a mailing list. I wanted an A if I could, because my last name is Zebel. We were going to go with Zebel something or other. I said, nobody's going to find that on the list. So he came up with this gold A in a box of structure, because we were structured, but we told him how we were different. So he put those 2 little circles as out of the box thinking. And then we had to stand out from the rest. So at that time, nobody was using black envelopes, black folders, black this, black that. Everything was black with gold embossed around it. And so that's where we spent the money. I think we spent $500 of our money putting this together. And I had, my printer at home, and I printed out 150 letters to this mailing list from the book I got at the library, put them in the black envelopes with this, that's where we spent the money, and mailed them out. Now, nobody called, but I started calling then. And by the third one, I heard this over and over. Are you the ones that sent that beautiful envelope? And what's this name mean? The conversation started. So most marketing companies, I'm not going to bash marketing companies. Some of my friends own them and I've hired them. They try and compete just on looks. The best picture, the best color, describing everything you sell. That's not the point. The point is to have the best looks, the best color, describing the emotion that you want these people, your customers and consumers, to get. And by the third business, I had this down. So the last business I owned, Arch Vacations, again, customer service. We wanted the A. So we came up with Air Resort Cruise Hotel. We put packages together of all four. Now, my staff at that time, I was hiring a lot of people to work with me. They loved the beach balls. So we ended up selecting this 4-color process, which I do not recommend, because unless you have a lot of money, it's very expensive to keep reproducing on products like shirts and folders and anything you're giving away. 4-color processing is expensive to print. I prefer 2-color like this one, but I lost on the 4-color, so I just let it go and bit the bullet and spent a lot of money on printing. But this worked beautifully. People would say, oh man, I love those beach balls. I want to go to the beach. So here's Center for Women Business Owners. Actually, the same company did both of these, that did these for me. I talked about education, motivation, and connections. It's 3 parts to put, this is what women need. And this is what I felt that they needed in order to break that 4% ceiling to get to that higher level of 7 figures per year. And I love warm colors personally. So she put this together, and I told her my tagline was connecting the dots, ... to business prosperity. Everything I do is connecting the dots in people's businesses. And then I thought this little flower in the middle would make a beautiful piece of jewelry someday. I could get a jeweler to match that up and give it out as awards and things like that. So, and it's circular because all 3 of these things need to be moving at the same time. It's not just one thing that you can focus on in business. You need all 3. So that was the message behind this. And that's what made this unique. So I want to talk about, I'm going to give you a chance to ask questions, but I want to talk about 3 other types of marketing that most people don't talk about. The first one is guerrilla marketing. There's a lot of books on this in the library. You can get a lot of these books on guerrilla marketing. It's guerrilla marketing on social media. It's kind of bashing your competition in a way, but it's also really hitting home what your differentiator is from a competitor. This is only if you're direct against a competitor. I don't advise bashing, but if you really are in a situation where you have to stand out. This is a famous television commercial that was used during Super Bowl. It won an award, where a salon on one side of the street had a sign, $6 haircuts. And the salon on the other side of the street, John's something salon, had no way to differentiate himself until he put up a sign that said, I fix $6 haircuts. So that's called guerrilla marketing. Very inexpensive to do. I use it occasionally when I'm comparing myself to the other 3 million business consultants. And because I get the testimonial, they wish they met me sooner. I'll sometimes put up a cross ad that said, don't wait until your business is on life support to call me, because that's what will happen over here. So you can use guerrilla marketing. You have to use it very carefully. Don't rely on it 100%, but in certain situations, it'll work. Free to do, really. Now I want to talk about fear-based marketing. And fear-based marketing, you see this all the time on television with drugs. Pharmaceutical companies use this. If you don't take this drug, you're going to die, things like that. That's fear-based. Now, you may be in a situation where fear-based marketing works well for you. don't be afraid to use it. But the only caution I have on these three types of marketing I'm going to show you is to make sure you have your facts straight. Don't allude to something, make sure your facts are absolutely accurate. So I use fear-based marketing a lot, and Christine and Crystal have been in my webinars, and I'll show a picture of Mount Everest, and I'll show a picture of a failed, small business owner. Only 15% are going to make it. The statistics have not changed in over 2 decades. I get them out of the library. I get them from the Small Business Administration. They're published. You can get these. And 60% of people who climb Mount Everest reach the top. So you save your money and go on a nice vacation, go see something different, because it'll be a much easier chance for you to survive here, in this desolate part of the world at 27,000 feet than it is to launch a company. So I'll use fear-based marketing occasionally too. But I caution you to make sure you have your facts accurate. Now, if you want to close your eyes, I'm going to show you shock marketing. Some people can't handle this, but, and then I'll let you know to open your eyes if you're watching. Shock marketing is done on television all the time with animals. They do it with pictures. There are some agencies that do it very well with sound. You see this a lot of times at the end of the year, raising money for saving wildlife and saving animals. And these pictures are always hard to look at, but they work. They raise a lot of money. So if you're in a nonprofit, because I do have nonprofit clients, if you're in a nonprofit, some just even hate the thought of showing these pictures, but if you can find a way to do it gently and easily, I just want to warn you that they do raise a lot of money. So the next one's really hard to look at. This is a horse from Great Spirit Animal Sanctuary. They're up in Taylor, Arizona. I'm on their board. This is Fred. And they did crop the photo. The sheriff was getting ready with a shotgun to shoot the horse, and we cut the gun out of the picture. But Great Spirit Animal Sanctuary raised enough money. It was absolutely abused and starved. And this is a picture of Fred a year later. He's still banged up a little bit, but he's very happy. He's living his life out on a sanctuary. This raised a lot of money, which is what they needed. It's a sanctuary that keeps animals for life. They cannot be rehomed because they've been so badly abused. And there's a lot of them there. Okay, so you can open your eyes. I want to give you an example of sound in shock marketing. This was something that an ad agency out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin did many years ago, about 20 years ago. He was representing a nonprofit that focused on raising money for awareness for accidents that happen to children primarily in their homes. And so he was struggling. I can't show pictures of children being hurt. How am I going to do this? His same household he's had 3 little kids, and one of his little girls, he called her the screamer. She had blood curdling screams all the time. She wanted to eat something different. It was a massive scream. So he started taping her screams, and he got this client. He said, how am I going to do this? So he's mowing the grass one day. So he gets the idea of showing a video of someone mowing the lawn, just seeing the lawnmower go back and forth, stop, put her scream in it, blank the screen, and then give them the statistics on how many children are harmed every year by a lawnmower, and raise money for this association. There were no photos, it was just sound. And they raised over $200,000 the first hour of the ad. So shock marketing is something that nonprofits really need to consider. Any question on graphics? We got one more piece and then we're done.
We do have one from Zuli. Whoops, get it back here. Would graphics of a grieving child or divorcing family be advisable for my grief recovery and life coaching, in-person and online business?
So you're a grief counselor. If you can show the before and after, the grief to the to where your services are moving this up, like I showed Fred going to, he's a happy, healthy, well, somewhat healthy. He's healthy enough to enjoy his life. Then sure, if you don't think it's going to be too offensive for people. And this may be something that you can market research, online in an independent group to see what their thoughts are. But fear-based and shock marketing, you see on television all the time because our brains are wired for that. And they're out there raising money. I mean, that's the whole point of it. Depending upon what you're selling, I don't believe in using all fear-based marketing. There are some business coaches out there that's all they do. And after a while, to me, that gets a little bit old. I mean, because there's a happy side to business. I mean, my whole mission is to get that 15% up to 20%. I mean, that's my whole mission, is to help more businesses sustain and build for a length of time. So you can, but again, I would test it. Anything else, Christine?
She said, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, what's an elevator message? Now, most people don't know what this is. It's a verbal description of this whole thing, buyers, emotion, where they're at, without graphics, using only words. And it's called an elevator message. That phrase was coined because you should be able to explain it to somebody in an elevator if you're going up 5 to 10 floors. You got that much time, explain what it is that you sell. Are they a right fit? How can you get a customer that quickly? So here's 5 parts to the message. If you answer these questions, it'll help you build the message. So you don't have to build the message in this order, but answer these questions. Who are your customers? Again, who's that perfect buyer? Why do you sell to them? What's part of that emotion? Where are they located? Again, the geography. And why do you sell to them is also part of the demographics, the lifestyle, the behavior. What does your business offer them? Now you tell them what you sell, but tell them what the results are. This is number 5. What are the results and benefits your customers receive? If I ask people to give me their elevator message, or I'll just go to events and say, what does your business do? This is the one piece they always miss. You have to tell them why you stand out from everybody else. So here's mine. And I answered the questions, but I'm not presenting the answers in that same order. So I start with the fear. Only 15% of small business owners survive beyond 5 years. That's a fact. So what do? I guide them with the skills I develop. Now I talk a little bit about myself from my diverse entrepreneurial background. I've actually done this. And where throughout the world, I train business owners on how to develop the skills they need to get to a 7-figure sustainable business. And many reach this goal in less than 2 years. So if I have more time, I can talk about my mission. I can talk about how only 9% ever get to 7 figures, how only 4% of women ever get there. And I can go on and on and on. But at least they understand how this makes me unique. And then I can even add, most of my customers come to me and say they wish they met me first. So you have to get this message down, because you never know when the opportunity presents itself, especially if you're going to networking groups and you're asked to stand up and say what you do. You've got to get this out in like 5 minutes and then be able to ask questions, answer their questions and so forth. So go back and answer these 5 questions and then practice so that it kind of rolls off your tongue, and that you absolutely believe it and that you can repeat it. Any questions on anything? We're pretty much at the end here.
Yep. I'm
Nothing? Okay.
not ready at the moment.
Okay. So thank you. Thank you all to SCORE District. Your SCORE is just amazing. My family's used them many, many times. And I'm always impressed with the quality of the people they get. Several of my employees used to be management consultants or SCORE mentors, which is how I got involved in this. So, support your local SCORE chapter. But the more you know about your business before you go into SCORE, the easier it'll be for them to help you. They can help you with this market research. They may have avenues and techniques that they can use to help you with that. So I just usually tell people they can go to my website, put in the www. Most people don't. You'll get there faster. There's all these redirects I have. My name, send me an email, fill out the contact form. If you have any questions on any of this, I'll be happy to spend time with you. But on the 20th of January, I'm hosting a live online webinar talking about how I'm going to take 20 people and help them build their strategy. And it's going to take us 2 months to do it. This first webinar is complimentary. It's free. Sign up. I'm going to explain how the whole program works. And my goal is to get these 20 people. And if it's not 7 figures you're going after, maybe it's 6 figures, mid 6 figures, whatever it is at that next level you want to reach. And I'll help you build the message around making that happen. So you can register there, send me an email. I'll tell you more about it. We can set up a time to chat. So I wish I know this went a little longer. Sorry, Christine. It's usually.
No, that's fine. I think we were even scheduled. We had the time carved out until 4:30.
Oh, thank you. Well, there's a question here about what percentage of total budget to focus on marketing. That depends. At the beginning, you're going to spend more. But when you are growing and you're kind of stable, I usually budget no more than 7 to 10% of my total revenue. But it depends again on what you're selling. You may have to spend more than that. But if you're selling a service like I am, that's what I budget. Now, I'm going to give you an example. I had a high-end cosmetics as clients, Chanel, some of these big companies. Majority of their cost is marketing. Majority of it is advertising. It's 10 cents to make a lipstick, like $10 to sell it. And the same thing with Nike shoes, anything like that. So yes, the recording is available. All the slides will be there. So you'll be able to get all of that. Does anybody else have anything? I just when I can stop sharing here. Thank you, Christine.
No problem.
You want to talk about SCORE a little bit, some more, but thank you, everybody. Any other last minute questions? Thank you. Thank you all for your support, and please just stay in touch. I just really want to know how you're doing. That's part of my market research. I really appreciate that. Good and bad. Tell me everything. I can handle it. Anything else? Anybody have any last minute questions? Anything coming? I do have, I should tell you, go to my website and go to the bottom of the homepage. It's got all the links. Go to the events page, because I have, it's starting in January, 6 months worth of presentations that's SCORE sponsoring for me. I'm going to do some live ones in Mesa, and we're going to schedule for the rest of the year. So you can at least mark the dates and times on your calendar and the subject. And then SCORE puts them out on their website 2 months in advance. So you'll find them there. And I have all the links to SCORE too. Excuse me. And go to YouTube, go to my 7 minutes to business success channel. There's like 40 or 50 different business subjects out there. People don't have time. They're only 7 minutes long. It's like a 1 PowerPoint page presentation. You can get a lot of information from that too.
Oh, one thing you asked me to remind you about, Darlene, about psychologists.
Oh, yes, the author. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Go to Amazon or go to the library and look up the book Influence. It's written by Dr. Robert Cialdini, C as in cat, I-A-L, D as in dog, I-N as in Nancy, I, Cialdini. Brilliant psychologist / marketer. I get a lot of information and techniques from that book called Influence. There's 7 major psychological, he talks about how the brain is wired from all this, and there's 7 major influences that you can use in your marketing. He actually wrote it for consumers so that they knew when they were being kind of, roped into buying something they didn't want to buy. And it turned out that the book was picked up by all these business owners and it took off that way. So right intentions, but wrong group. So you never know where it's going to take you. But yeah, Dr. Robert Cialdini, and the book is Influence. Absolutely. I would highly recommend everybody read that.
Then we have a request you offered to take us through how to sign up on LinkedIn.
Yeah. Oh yeah, let me show you how to do that. Let me get it up and then I'll show you where that is. If you guys have time, let me come on. Let me show you where that is. To get to the, let me get to the share here again. Where's my share button? Oh, come on. I got too many windows open. Oh, there it is. Hang on. Yeah, it's if you go into LinkedIn, connect on my page. I mean, I've got 8,000 first line connections, and it's a good opportunity to do a lot of market research right there. So, oh, come on. Why can't I find the share? Ah, here it is. Wait, where's it? Oh, there. My window just literally disappeared here. Oh, come on. Where are you here? Sorry about this. Okay, here it is. Can you see this slide? Can you see Center for Women Business Owners? Do you see that, Christine?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so this is the group. You have to go to the group. There is a page, but there is also the group. So it's a group of 683 members. There are men in this group too. So just sign up, and it's a great place for you to post some of your things that people are doing. And then you can take a look at it. You can ask for advice. You know, what do you think of this, or what do you think of that? And people will then promote your products and services there. You might get some ideas and some help. But yeah, it's a group. There's a page and then there's a group, and you want the group, listed group. So I think LinkedIn has a limited number of groups that you can join. So if for some reason LinkedIn says you can't, you may be at their limit. You may have to disengage with some of the groups that you're already on LinkedIn. So, but thank you very much. Yeah. Did I stop sharing? Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else anybody has? Thank you, Christine, again.
Oh, you're very, very welcome. Thank you, Darlene. I learned so much every time.
Thank you. The hard way. Yeah. Hard way. I tell everybody I learned the hard way. So.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Look for the email with the link.
All right. Thanks, guys.
See you next
Let
time.
me know how you're doing. Okay. Bye-bye.